it took me probably until I was in my 30s to find out anything at all about therapy, and it took me until my 40s to really get any benefit from doing that work. It really requires you to engage. But the more that I went through the process of psychotherapy, the more I started to discover how music had really been working on me.
Hello everyone, I'm Erica.
And I'm Akilah.
Welcome to HeartsChat.
Today we have a special guest with us. His name is Bill Protzmann, and he is a man on a mission to raise awareness of the power of music as self-care. And we both know how important self-care is,
Absolutely.
Yes, in general. But he uses music to bring awareness. In addition to being a successful IT entrepreneur, Bill holds magna cum laude degrees in piano performance and creative writing, and has concertized and performed for many years with a focus on bringing music to audiences in non-traditional ways. In 2011, he launched Music Care, Inc., a for-profit corporation dedicated to teaching practical ways music can be used for self-care. His work was recognized by the National Council for Behavioral Health with an Award of Excellence in 2014, the behavioral health equivalent of winning an Oscar. So when he talks about music and self-care, he speaks with gentle conviction and from real experience. And so we'd like to welcome our special guest. We're so excited to speak with him tonight, Bill Protzmann. So you said that music is the reason you're alive today. Can you tell us why music is the reason you're alive today?
Wow, we jump in right on the heavy stuff. Yep, I would be happy to. So I'm a piano player, and I've been playing the piano all my life. I mean, honestly, my mom started teaching me when I was 3 years old. So it's just something I do. It's like food. It's like eating, or waking up in the morning. I play the piano. And at first that was a burden. It became fun when I discovered some fun music to play when I was in middle school, basically. I started playing ragtime piano. There's classical piano, and that's how everybody starts, but ragtime piano was really great. So I learned to play ragtime. And in my musical world, I had this happy music, and then all the classical music that I was playing, which was pretty heavy and pretty sad. It's deep music.
Yeah.
And I discovered, over process of time, that even though I couldn't express big emotions like in my family, I could express them at the piano.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything about psychotherapy or any of that, but if anybody has been anywhere near how important it is to get in touch with your feelings, getting in touch with them is one thing, but being able to experience them safely is quite a different animal. And
absolutely,
I had this built-in practice, right, of being able to experience big emotion safely at the piano, in any case. And after, I don't know, it took me probably until I was in my 30s to find out anything at all about therapy. And it took me until my 40s to really get any benefit from doing that work. It really requires you to engage. But the more that I went through the process of psychotherapy, the more I started to discover how music had really been working on me. And now we have all of this music therapy research, and neuroscience is investigating the brain, stimulating it with music. And we're able to tell quite a bit more in terms of scientific data what was going on with Bill Protzmann, back in the day, who was this messed up little kid, being depressed, but having a way to get the feelings out that was therapeutic.
Wow, that's really powerful.
Well, it did save my life because I've been chronically depressed all my life. And part of the benefit of that is you get suicidally ideated from time to time.
Absolutely.
And, I've talked to a lot of people about that. And I think thinking about suicide is something that's common to human beings. Doing it is quite different. But we all think about it. And the closer you are to being, distressed or depressed, the more powerful those thoughts of suicide can be.
Yeah.
So at one point in my life, and I'll be honest with you about this too, because I remember it like it was yesterday, as they say. On Labor Day weekend of 2007, I felt like I'd done it all. My second divorce and bankruptcy were finalized. The kids are all off at college. I didn't have any pets. I was like, why am I still here? What am I doing here? Why am I still what's my purpose?
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't see a way that I could contribute any more to society than what I'd already done.
Wow.
And I mean, it was pretty objective, but there was a component to it that was depressed, that came from that despairing place too.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of reaching for a gun or finding a rope or something, I decided to put on some music. And so I sat in the comfortable chair that I had and just late in the afternoon, put my headphones on, and I started to listen to the same song over and over on repeat. It's a very important song to me. It's one of those, how iconic music stays with you for your whole life, and it's your music. So it's that for me. And I just sat there, and I let the thoughts of suicide and the thoughts of depression and despair and the sort of ending kind of thoughts come up and percolate within me, and let the music play. And I just started to weep. And you guys, I don't know, I think we've all had moments in our life where you just cry, for a long, long time. It's necessary. It's cathartic. You have to get it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the next thing I remember was waking up, still in the chair, full dark, music still playing in my headphones. And I was pretty tired, so I went to bed. And the next morning, wow, I just woke up with this sense of purpose and drive and initiative. And I wanted to be back in the game. I was, getting ready to do some concerts, and I felt like this excitement about them that I hadn't felt in a long, long time. And from sort of that moment on, I've been more engaged in life at a deeper level than I ever have been.
Mm-hmm.
It continues to deepen. And all the stuff that has kept me alive, music, doing that, you can go back and say, well, here's how the music affected me on a scientific level, and and all the biology of that. That's fine. But those moments that happen when you listen to music and you really get it real deep,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something we human beings need. We crave it.
Absolutely.
We crave that depth. And music can give that to you, completely safely. And for me, that's just part of what it means to be alive now, is knowing that I can go there and come back, in safety.
It's amazing how we can connect so strongly to music.
Absolutely.
It sounds like for you, at 3 years old, music was something that was your mom's idea. Was it to be a hobby for you, or did she point it out sort of as a coping skill?
Gosh, I wish I could answer that question. She passed away in 2001.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
And I have never thought to ask Mom, why did you start me on the piano? I know that she wanted to teach piano. She had a degree in primary education, pre-primary, and she was amazing with little kids. I wasn't her only 3-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
But why she started with me, I don't know. Mom was just one of those people, she'd get an idea and she'd go out and do it. And she played, she had lessons as a kid. And it was just like, I guess, passing the torch more than anything else. I mean, she didn't have any expectations for me.
I see.
But she was always encouraging. Yeah, it's a blessing now. You look back at it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, just hearing you speak about kind of how music saved your life, it definitely kind of clarifies some things as like what really has inspired you to raise this awareness for others, because you have personally benefited from music. Yes.
I literally, I owe my life to music. I haven't had to defend my life with music, which is a different thing. But I imagine if I were called on to do that, I probably could.
Yeah.
It's a very, very simple awareness, but the rabbit hole is so deep, you can chase it just as far as you want to go. And, with the science that's around it now and the research that's going on, I am just fascinated to be doing this business and looking at how the people who are measuring, if you will, the impact of music on us, or who are inferring the impact of music on us when you can't measure things like emotions are difficult to measure.
Mm-hmm.
We can look inside the brain and see what's happening, but it's hard to put a metric on emotions.
Absolutely.
But other people who are interested in this are people who are involved in the physical world, runners and joggers and whatever. You can get all of that great rhythm going, And the science is that if you're listening to music while you're doing X physical activity, you're going to be able to do more of it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Simple science, but they can get into weeds on that too. But finally, how about this? That we can't explain either physically, emotionally, or mentally still falls into the category of, okay, how does music work on that? So we're talking about things like, spooky stuff like consciousness and spirituality and all that. And, well, we sing in church, and there's a pretty good reason for that. People have been doing that, worldwide for a long, long time when it comes to worship. And,
Absolutely.
the music that connects us to that other stuff, the otherness, the spirit, the soul, whatever, call it what you like. There's that aspect of music too. And I suspect that all of this together in some holistic way is necessary for human beings to thrive. Mm-hmm. And that we ignore those things at our own detriment, like we suppress the, quote, negative emotions.
Yes.
But hey, those are guardrails. Those have been keeping us safe for millennia.
Absolutely.
You hear a loud noise and you jump because you want to see where it was coming from, whether it's dangerous, and whether to get out of the way. That's not negative. That's pretty positive. It's life affirming,
Exactly. That what you just said is something that I say to clients all the time, because we have, society wise, anger is bad. These like intense emotions that we talk about is just such bad things. But I always tell them, like, that's our body's telling us something. If we didn't have that, there'd be an issue.
Yeah. I know a lot of people are distressed right now about the polarization of whatever, income, politics. It just seems like we're being pushed further and further away from each other when we disagree. And I know that's a tough thing. It's hard for me. But isn't it great to have that clarity?
Absolutely.
Because out of that contrast, we can get to a solution. We can get something more. If we weren't having the conversation before, well, we sure are now.
Absolutely.
And we'll be able to move through that. I mean, human beings do this. We're resilient. But it isn't easy. It isn't supposed to be. It's a hard sell. It's like, come into therapy because we're going to make you feel really bad. And you'll have a few moments of amazing enlightenment, which will just lead you to the next period of feeling really bad as you work through the next thing.
Absolutely.
But that's what it's all about. That's where it's exciting. You get to do that work. You get to find out things, and you're not alone. There's so many people in the world who are doing it too in some way or another.
And I don't think that there's any accident that a lot of therapists will talk about music in therapy or suggest, especially working with young people. Is there something that you do? Most people say, I write or I listen to music. Those are two huge coping skills I notice a lot of young people talk about.
That's a beautiful thing. Rap is so incredible right now because it's giving voice to so much of those, quote, negative emotions, but in a way that's safe.
Yes.
Anyone who's listening, if you're young, you're listening to hip hop and you're involved in the culture, what a blessing for you, because it's more open there than in many other places. I don't want to pick off on artists and say, well, this versus that, but the notion of being able to experience negative emotions, in quotes, in safety, that never even occurs to rappers. They're just there. They're just doing what they feel.
Yeah.
It's not about negative or positive or message or this. It's just like, no, this is what I have to say. Mm-hmm. And they're saying it so people can resonate with it. And that's just beautiful. It'd be tough to get, well, no, I'll be in comparisons again. So I won't do it that way, but I'll do it this way. So pop music has always echoed the issues of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Always. And that's a huge social indicator of sort of how people are dealing with things. Like, Pharrell Williams, when he came out with Happy.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. That started a movement all by itself, right? Just one song. And other songs like that, you can think about that. Back through history, you think about songs like that. You just go, what was happening? Like in 1969 when Bob Dylan wrote X, whatever it was. All you got to do is check out the pop chart to see what people were thinking about, what they needed to feel, right?
Right.
Yes.
So it's a really good thing. It's just so great when kids say, hey, listen to music. We're not supposed to like their music.
That's something I was thinking about in preparation. There's people that say, well, this kind of music is bad. This kind of music is negative. But you said that you teach people how to use their music for their health and success and more peaceful life. So do you ever come into contact with that? Somebody who likes maybe what somebody would consider a negative song, or maybe it doesn't really feel like a peaceful song?
It's interesting in my work with music and people appreciating it. And fortunately, there's research that backs this up too. So the most powerful music for me might be different from the most powerful music for you, Erica, or for you, Akilah. Yeah. We might have 3 different chunks of music that are, they don't have any relationship to each other.
Yeah.
This is a hypothetical. But the fact that each of us love those songs is the indicator of how powerful that music is. So hear something for the first time and you go, oh man, I really love that music. Like Happy, right? Really love that music. Well, that immediately has more power for you than any other music that you might remember or hear for the first time. Because you've got an emotional connection. You've actually made a commitment to it. And for most of us, generally speaking, it's the music of our adolescence that stays with us the most and sort of defines who we are and that we love.
Yeah.
So let's take a hypothetical, because a kid who's grown up listening to rap right now is going to have, first of all, a wider emotional range, but later in life, that music is going to be like the core of what it was like to come of age and be,
absolutely,
self-actualized at whatever level. And that's the music they'll go back to if they ever in a place where they need to feel. There may be other music that comes along. I mean, all of us pick up new songs all the time. So let's take your hypothetical rap fan. Now, rap comes in a few different flavors, but my objective with music and with working with people is to say, okay, all of us can feel basically 4 different things. So joy and sadness, of course, and then fear and anger. So your 4 primary emotions. That's an oversimplification, but it'll get the point across.
Absolutely.
So if your hypothetical rap fan says to you, okay, so here's my music, and he lists a bunch of songs, and it turns out that every one of those songs is angry or fear-based. The first question is, so what music makes you sad? And he might indicate a couple things. What music makes you happy? Well, listening to all this whole thing makes me happy. So here's someone who is so present with their emotions that they really haven't taken the time to parse it out and figure out if they've got a balanced diet, so to speak. So they're in a great place with music that influences them. But if they need something that immediately takes them to joy, it might be a time to introduce some contrast into that.
Okay.
Like these days, if you don't know what happy is, if your personal top 40 doesn't include happy, we can open you up to a happy song. Now, it may not resonate with you, and maybe your happy song is something like Amazing Grace or, some other piece of music, who knows? But the idea is to take a look at your music and see if your music supports you in all 4 of those emotions in a way that you can really feel, like really get it inside. Wow. If it does, hey, you're good. Because when it comes time to be scared, you got to have a way of letting that stuff flow. Or like me that night when I was so sad, I needed a way to let that stuff flow instead of hanging on to it, and tamping it down. Oh, it's a negative emotion. I'm not supposed to feel that. Bad practice. If it's coming to you, music will let you feel that thing completely and fully, and then send you back to a neutral place where you can choose the next emotion, if that makes any kind of sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's happening so complex and so fast and whatever, but to greatly oversimplify that, our hypothetical rapper might open up to some music that he'd never even heard before. Like part of my job is I get to help veterans attend the symphony, and lots of veterans tell me they've never been. Mm-hmm. And then the next thing they say is like, wow, I had no idea. Seriously. And when you are in a place like a veteran who's had so much emotion, especially if you've been in combat,
absolutely,
and so much stress and whatever, they know stress. And when music opens you up, when you are capable of feeling that deeply, wow, that's powerful music, because it triggers you in a way where you can go, instead of a way where you retreat or lock up or otherwise disengage. So our objective here is to take anyone who's looking at their music and saying, hey, I want better from my life. I don't quite like how I'm feeling. And expanding that opportunity to hear some new things and see how they play with your emotions, and whether there's something in that music you haven't yet heard that could be better for you, that could activate your wellness, that could do something for you in a way that your other sort of core music isn't doing.
Right.
And
absolutely.
That's a great hunt,
Absolutely. Excuse me. Bill, I just want to touch on before I ask you the next question, like the way you explained in terms of, the 4 primary emotions and having songs in each category is, I feel like it's such a perfect way to explain to kind of parents sometimes when they're kind of like, well, my teen listens to only this or that, and kind of helping them see like we need everybody to safely experience these emotions. And through music, that can definitely be done. So that I loved how you explained that.
Thank you.
So the next question for you is, you kind of leading off what you were saying, like you've worked with veterans before, and we've went through researching, we've learned that you've worked through a lot of different people. So have you kind of noticed any similarities between the different populations that you work with, kind of how they respond to music, or any different techniques you use with anybody, or do you kind of apply the same thing?
I love this question. And I think the answer is going to surprise you. The similarity I've noticed with people who are the most at risk, and it doesn't matter what they're most at risk for, but they're at risk and they want to make a change. So if you're going from homeless to housed, or if you're going from addicted to sober, or if you're going from, blown up post-traumatic stress issues to someone who can deal with life better.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the issues are. Every one of the people that I've had the privilege of working with is open, is authentic, wants to change, and is ready to take new information and actually do something with it and process it and make something more. Mm-hmm. And I believe, I don't know if history is going to show this or not, but I think it's thanks to the Vietnam era veterans that we have the kind of social care programs in place today that they didn't have. And not just for veterans, but for anyone who's at risk, because a lot of those Vietnam era guys became addicted very quickly.
Yeah.
They gave them morphine in the field. They came back. They had to have it in order to just stay alive. So drug use was high with returning Vietnam era veterans. So we have all these drug programs in place now to be able to help people who want to stop being addicts, and obviously we've leveraged 12-step programs like Alcoholics Anonymous. And it's the most at-risk people who turn out to be the biggest leaders. Right. So if you were to look at somebody who's like the guy who started Stand Down, which is a nationwide program where veterans can come indoors for 3 days, once a year. There's 200 of them now in the United States, or maybe more. But that guy's in San Diego. And had it not been for his experience of being so, terrorized, traumatized, he most likely would not have had the impetus to do what he's done. And to say nobody needs to be in that place forever. Let's create programs that help people who are traumatized recover from them. So I believe the commonality there is not only are these at-risk people all open and authentic, but I think a lot of them are going to be the leaders of the next movement of whatever happens.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like that. If you're committed to that, you just make leaps and bounds above. It's so great. And by the way, that goes for kids too. I'm thinking of the... where was she from? Pakistan? Is Malala, is that her name? Who came out?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I mean, out of severe trauma, she took all that energy and was able to turn it into something that became a worldwide movement. As a teenager.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the kind of people that are out there right now that, a lot of us don't even see the homeless person who's sitting next to the door at Starbucks.
Yes.
But that person could be the next city councilman, right? Or the next start a nonprofit to do something about homelessness or whatever it is. You just don't know. But that's how close many of the people are. Now, I'm going to be very compassionate too, because there's a lot of folks who can't rise above whatever their predicament is.
Yeah.
I heard an amazing interview with a woman who's autistic and whose parents wanted her sterilized so she wouldn't reproduce. And she said, no. Not going to happen. And now she has her own kid, and she's leading the charge when it comes to what people with autism can do in the world. That's the kind of person, that could be sitting right there beside Starbucks, just waiting for the magic to happen, and it will. Absolutely. Especially when you're near the end, like I was. If you're willing to go there, wow, the results are huge.
Well, it's amazing that you do put out this awareness about music, because it's something that's so accessible. Our phones, our computers, anywhere you can make your own music just by, tapping fingers on the desk. You do that in elementary school. It's powerful that people can use music and kind of have it in their back pocket to use, anytime you need it.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Thank heavens for technology. It's one of the ways I love technology. And, I have recordings out there too that I'd love it if people bought, but it's more important that we have access, that people can hear things and can look for things. It's so great to be able to find millions of songs. Whoa.
Yes.
And I know for me, I use music. I love listening to music. I love
So do I.
sing my songs.
Do you guys use it in practice, like in your sessions?
I have
Yes.
used it, before with teenagers.
Good. Awesome.
Even music that I didn't really understand, I didn't really get it, but I've noticed it was helpful. It calmed them. They liked it. And, that's what matters. That's what's important. We can use that. But I also find
Exactly.
when I think about songs too, that are like, okay, maybe that's not the most, what I like, maybe that's not the most positive songs that are going to put me in a peaceful mood. It's memories. This is a song that me and my dad used to listen to, and that was our time. That's why I like this song, or this is connected to, a good memory. So I think also, you can use it for your, your own coping skills. You like it for enjoyment, but I think also connecting with other people and memories and things like that.
Sure. Have you seen the video Alive Inside?
I haven't seen that.
It's out on YouTube. Documentary about what happened when they took music to people with dementia and Alzheimer's, and how those people who had no effect, basically, were just flat, started to sing and communicate and tap their feet and move around.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, yeah, Alive Inside. So the memories. Now, here's how that looks flowing forward. It's easier to memorize something if you sing it.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
That's true.
Like try to forget the tune to A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or Ba, Ba, Black Sheep. It's the same tune. Or Twinkle, Twinkle.
Exactly.
Words and music they're just tied together. So you can use that to study for tests, or, send a patient home and say, here, I want you to memorize this to your favorite melody. And then come back and sing it for me next week.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's very therapeutic as you're working through the process of memorizing that and singing it together. You're exercising the whole corpus callosum, left, right thing. And there's so much going on there that's affirmative and life-giving and healthy, and, all the other good words. And I love to play music too. At a session, I used to have a therapist who would ring a singing bowl once at the start of the session.
Huh.
And I start business meetings when I have to have a business meeting. I'll start it about 5 minutes before the meeting. Just put a click track on my phone, or some sort of lounge music, something that's got a little bit of a beat. I'm not too concerned about whether there's any music, but the beat, the pulse is what I want.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And that entrains everybody. And, people who have similar heart rates are easier to connect with. And that's a really great thing in a meeting, especially if it's contentious. Out your way. I think she's either Manhattan or Boston. So there's a woman who does vocal psychotherapy. So imagine that you go to your therapist. Like I come in and I sit down with you, Erica, and you say, how are you today, Bill? And I say, oh, I'm fine. She says, let's begin our session. And then you start to sing. And the whole thing takes place with either the therapist or the patient improvising, maybe at the piano, maybe on a guitar, and singing the session to each other.
Wow.
So why do that, right? I mean, I've done this where I've written with my non-dominant hand, and it kind of opens up the inner child. So singing is a sort of a way into that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you get a completely different kind of session if you sing it than if you talk it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, try that with some teens. Actually, you can try with adults too. Some adults might be adept at that, and you don't have to actually play music. You can put on those music -1 kind of things. Have you ever heard those? We musicians will play along with a combo that's recorded, and we'll do the improv on top of the combo recording.
Uh-huh.
And you can get that stuff out there. There's plenty of it. It's like karaoke without any words. Okay. But if you don't want to make up your own music or improvise at the same time, just put on that kind of supportive music and sing to that.
Absolutely.
So, lots of ways in. What is that? I'll send you her name later. It's Diane something. I don't want to get it wrong, but
thank you.
fantastic book, Vocal Psychotherapy.
Bill, thank you. Thank you so much for, joining us today and sharing such an inspirational story, as well as the amazing work you're doing with music and sharing it with us and our listeners. So to wrap everything up, can you tell our listeners how they can learn more about you, as well as how they can purchase your books or your music?
Sure. If you can find Bill Protzmann anywhere online, it'll lead you to the music, it'll lead you to the book.
Okay.
I have one out there now on Amazon. they're all listed on most of the websites that I curate. And the best way to sort of engage with how music works is quest.musiccare.net, 2 C's. And that's the landing page for a course that I put together. And it sort of describes the point of what we're doing here with music, and at least my idea of how to approach that in an orderly fashion, how to teach yourself how to engage with music more intelligently. I know I have to use that word, but it's mostly more holistically.
Okay.
You know, so that's out there, quest.musiccare.net, and it has links to other places. At least it will show you how my name is spelled, and you can Google me from there. And thank you guys so much. What an incredible opportunity.
Thank you so much for listening to HeartsChat today, where we speak from the heart. We hope that you enjoyed our show. Catch us every Sunday and Tuesday on our YouTube channel and our website, which is HeartsChatRadioshow.com. Be sure to follow us on our social media pages at HeartsChat Radio on Instagram and at HeartsChat on Twitter and Facebook.
We love to hear from you. If you have any questions or topics that you want us to talk about, email us at heartschat@heartschat.radioshow.com. And for all of your personal relationship questions, visit our website, heartschat.radioshow.com, and click the From Erica's Heart tab. Your question will be answered within 24 hours. Thank you for listening to HeartsChat, where we speak from the heart.